distributor class?
Yep. Distributor for dummies. Distributor 101.
Distributor by dummies.
By dummies for dummies.
Alright. This is a distributor. Okay, so to explain the issue that I was having a few days ago that I think I've got rectified.
Rectal?
No, that's not what I said. I said rectified. What did you say?
Sound like you said rectified.
Oh, that's what you heard because you got a dirty mind. Anyway, like I was saying, now that I got my cam sync problem rectified, what we're going to show you here is the issue. So the way this works is you have a and then this goes on top of this. You kind of get the picture. So the cam is here, and the cam spins the distributor, and then you decide when you want to send spark through the coil to the top of the cap in the center, and then it goes through the top of the cap in the center, and then it touches the cap, rides on top of this as it spins. So as it's sitting there spinning, the cap is riding through here, and then the coil sends the voltage through here, and it goes down this little tang goes down through there to the end of this. It charges this guy up right here, and then eventually it does a little number where it goes from here, that's in the center. This is the center. This is the center. It goes out through the end of the rotor bug here, this thing, and it shoots across to this. Okay. What it's actually called when it makes that jumps that gap. Voltage required to ionize the plug gap. Ionize. That's what it's called, apparently. So, ionizing. It's basically, like when you walk across the floor in the hallway and your socks on, you get all charged up, and you reach out to your buddy, and it goes, and makes the jump across to the person, and they go, ooh. You know what I'm talking about? That's what happens here. The coil, the ECU tells the coil to fire. The coil, which is holding a charge, releases its charge, goes through the coil wire to the top of the cap. Like I said, goes this little button here, rides on this. So the charge from the coil goes through the coil wire, through the top of this, down into there. That is touching this, so it goes from here through here, goes to the end of this, charges, and then it jumps from here, which is like this. It jumps from here to here. So bang, and then that goes to the plug wire, that goes to the cylinder, and it jumps across the spark plug. It's a whole lot of electrical jumping going on. Jump, jump, jump. MSD, you make you want to jump. Anyway.
Did you write that on your own?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
So, as this turns, all of these, there's 8 cylinders, there's eight terminals. All that works perfectly, except there's one thing you got to do, and that's tell the ECU when to fire. Now, if you don't care about having cylinder-to-cylinder timing control or fuel control, you don't need to do this because you know it's going to fire every time, and every time you say, okay, that one's going to that one. You got to get all your alignments and everything right, and then you just go with it. But I would like to control each cylinder independent of the rest. Let's say number 1 is this one. You got to be able to tell the ECU.
Wow, that's nice.
There you go. Look at that. You got. Man, that looks horrible.
Picasso.
Jeez Louise, that's terrible. It's terrible. That's a little better. So.
Is it?
Nah, but easier to see maybe. So you got to tell the ECU when number 1 is coming. So you can say, here comes number 1. We talked about it in the cam sync video, but a quick rundown is, here's number 1. The firing order is 1843652, or in my case, 1873672. No, 1873642. This is why I wrote it on my hand. So you got to be able to tell it when number one is happening and what the firing order is, so that once it knows where number one is, it just goes through the firing order, and in your little ECU thing, it says, okay, I want number one to have this much timing, number 8 to have this much timing, blah, 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 and then it knows when to fire. So in reality, the ECU can do the calculation to where it can fire this terminal at 30 degrees of timing. This terminal, it can wait a little longer and fire it later at 28 degrees of timing. This one, it can fire it earlier at 32 degrees of timing. You know, so it's basically making that calculation each one of these. So you can literally you can tune each cylinder like its own engine. It's pretty neat. In order for all that amazing stuff to happen, you got to know when number one is happening. In the video on your car, I put a Hall effect sensor on the front of the motor, and we put a magnet on your timing gear, on your cam, on your Jezel cam sprocket. Yeah, we did all that. Made it work great. I don't have that fancy stuff.
Maybe one day you'll get there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows? Turbo guy
It doesn't
stuff,
seem like Pontiacs are really, you know, if we're waiting on technology to catch up, we're going to be waiting a while. From the factory, this is a magnetic pickup coil in here, and so you don't need an ECU with this distributor. If you run it alone by itself, this says when to fire. So as this rolls around, it's got 8 of these little deals, and it says bing, 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 and that tells the coil fire, 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 fire. That is how it does it. Well, I broke all of these off except for one, and so I'm using that to say when this hits that, I take the signal from this sensor and send it to the ECU and say that's number one. So this is my cam sync basically. Believe it or not, I've been using this design for a long time.
We can tell.
This one actually isn't even mine. Mine is in the motor, but mine doesn't look much different. It's just maybe a little cleaner. But what happens is that has to line up with that. So as it goes across there, this is a reluctor wheel. This is actually a magnetic sensor, variable reluctance sensor. So it's only a 2-wire deal. It is a magnet. It's a magnet. It's a magnet. Oh man, it won't do it. Here we go. Whoa. Now we gotta do it. There we go. Oh, look at there. There's a magnet. That works flawlessly until it doesn't. And when it doesn't work flawlessly, then everything goes to hell. So if you think about it, the reason why this is important is because if your cam sync timing is off, so if you say, hey, here is number one is in 80 degrees from now, 80 degrees of crankshaft rotation, number one cylinder is going to fire. Well, it does that calculation. Well, if that gets screwed up every rotation or whatever, if it moves, it doesn't work.
Because you're firing when it's not number one.
Well, you're firing number one later or sooner, or if it gets really close to the magnetic trigger on the front of the engine, the crank trigger, if it gets close to that 64 degrees, which mine's 64, some people are 60, 50, whatever, mine's 64. Well, if my cam sync is 80, well, if something happens and it moves close to that 64, it's the same signal basically, so it jumps over each other and it says one of them missed a tooth, and then it fires on the total other cylinder and everything gets really jacked up. But what had happened with mine was, so this is what the distributor base looks like without our shaft in it. There's a bearing here, and then there's a collar here, and the shaft, which is here, goes down through, that's a little rusty. Holy moly. So this is this, same thing. It goes down through there. It has a collar on it here. Why is that not fitting in anything? Something's wrong. Maybe that was the issue the whole time. No. So this is what mine looked like. This is actually the one out of my car. And as you can see, it's moving. See? It moved. Not supposed to move. It moved. You hear it move? It moved.
Yeah.
I thought that was the problem. Nope. Not the problem. So under this base, down in there, around there, in between this collar and this, 2 hardened washers. Like that, okay? They go between the bottom of that collar and the bearing. Those 2 hardened washers were not hardened. At some point in time, They got either switched out or they've never been hardened. I don't know. But they ended up grinding. One of the washers ended up grinding down because of this, and the other washer grinded down because of the bearing. Because this is hardened and that's hardened. So the washers just sat there and ground down. And that created extra up and down clearance in this. The whole shaft had extra up and down clearance because those washers were now thinner. Matter of fact, that's kind of what they looked like. I think I threw them away, but that's, you see the ring in it? Not on this side, but there is on this side. That ring was super deep on both washers, so had some extra up and down clearance. And then on the bottom, in between the distributor base and the gear, you have two washers. So the gear slides on this shaft, okay? And then you have, but in between the gear and the base, you have two washers. One of them, a hardened steel washer, and one of them a bronze washer. In between the gear and that distributor, so you have a, you know, like a hardened type gear, steel gear, and you have an aluminum distributor. So you want the hardened washer on the steel hardened gear. You want the bronze washer on the soft aluminum base. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it works. But at some point in time, I put a bronze distributor gear on my distributor. And I don't know why I did this, because I'm sure they already thought of this. And it wasn't a problem because this is held on with a roll pin, so it can't move. But for some reason, I decided that I was going to put the bronze washer on the bronze gear and the hardened washer above it. And what that did was that ground this distributor base here, that ground material off of that. Not only did it grind material off of that, but this being on the bottom side, this started grinding material off the bronze washer. So everything was shrinking. These got thinner, the two washers on top got thinner, and what I ended up with was a distributor where the shaft had, I mean, you can see this one has like 6 thousandths play. Mine had like 30 thousandths play. For some reason, that didn't occur to me to be an issue. When I was looking at it, I thought, man, what does it matter? Like, if you looked in there, like that magnet here, the sensor and the reluctor, they're a fucking half-inch tall. What does it matter if it moves? What does it matter if it moves up 30 thousandths? Like, that shouldn't matter. It should still read it in the same place every time. Until I mocked it all up and realized what I was talking about. I didn't know what I was talking about, apparently, because you see this gear design? Mm-hmm. It has that turn in it, that twist. It rides on the camshaft gear, which also has a twist in it. And anybody who's put a distributor into a small block Chevrolet or taken one out knows that when it goes into the camshaft, it spins. So you spin the rotor as it goes in, and the rotor spins as it comes out. So it spins into the cam gear. Well, so basically at idle, it was showing 80, 90 degrees of camshaft angle. And then when I would rev it, it would go to 60 degrees of camshaft angle. Sometimes less, and it caused all kinds of problems. Well, what it was doing was it would try to spit the distributor out the top. Because if you don't hold the distributor down with a clamp and you start it, it will spit the distributor out. That's what it was trying to do. Well, this was raising up and taking up the slack that all those washers had thinned out. And when it does, it spins. So it was like raising up 30 thousandths and turning 30 thousandths. Raising up 30 thousandths, turning 30. It was a nightmare. It was junk. And it took me 2 days to figure that out. Now, talking about it, I should have been able to figure that out in 10 minutes. But for whatever reason, my mind had gone to electrical. When you're looking at a computer screen with data on it, it's really easy to say, oh, we got some noise in our sensor, or we've got a bad sensor, or we've got some, a bad plug or bad wiring, or we got, something's not programmed correctly. There's a noise filter that's not working. There's a minimum, maximum voltages that aren't happening. The best thing to do is always look for mechanical things wrong. They're the easiest to fix, or they should be. So I was looking at sensors, I was looking at wiring, I was trying to do anything I could. I had a I had another sensor here that I was trying, which now is collecting washers and parts here. But
Those are the washers you're looking for?
yeah, there's probably all the ones I was talking about. But so I was trying different sensors. I put a scope on it. I was ohming everything out. I was checking wires. I was going crazy. Every time you take it apart, you got to take the whole turbo cold piping off the car just to get the distributor, because my distributor's in the back because it's a stock location. So every time you do all that, you got to take all the piping off, all the clamps off, blow off valves, all that stuff, get the distributor, change something, put it all back together, fire it up, see if it fixed it. It took me the better part of a day and a half to get it figured out. And then once I get it figured out, fixed it, put it all back together for the last time, boy, that cam sync angle is solid.
Nice.
I was really happy. I know it's the smallest little thing, but man, I was really happy when I fixed that. It was kicking my butt. Cam sync angle is good. Now we can make sure that that was our issue. Every once in a while we'd have a weird issue with the car we couldn't explain. As you guys saw in our testing videos, when we put it back together that time, we went out, it didn't want to start, misfiring, acting weird, it didn't run as good as it normally does. And I think that I was trying to compensate for this issue by moving the distributor, and that created a rotor phasing problem when I was taking timing out of the car. So rotor phasing is very scary because you only have so much distance between these two terminals. Let's say that 30 degrees is dead straight on, so the rotor is pointing directly at that terminal. Let's say that's 30 degrees of timing. If you pull out 10 degrees of timing, on mine it goes counterclockwise. So if you pull out 10 degrees of timing, you retard the engine 10 degrees. Well, it doesn't fire now. The ECU waits until it gets to like here, and then it fires. Well, let's say you take out 15 degrees. Well, now it waits till here. What if you take out 18 degrees? Well, now it waits till here. And so now you're getting a weird issue here, because now this is closer to this than it is to that. And electricity is going to take the path at once.
Well, then if yours is pulling up too, that's going up, then probably more that way too.
Yeah, and so it was doing this. Actually, I think it was doing... Yeah, it was doing that, because the cam sync would get closer that way. So
Yeah.
either way, it was... Yeah, so even if I was right on the edge, it was pushing this up and spinning it. If you hit the gas, it'd push it up and spin it. So, but either way, once this gets closer to this terminal, it's going to go... Pew. So instead of firing 20 degrees late on this cylinder like you ask it to, it's now going to fire, 20 degrees early on this one, or 40 or 30 or 10 or 15. And while you may think, it can't be that bad to put 10 extra degrees in one hole, it's not. It's not always. I mean, it's not good. Don't go out and do it. But it's not going to knock a hole in something instantly. But it is if this cylinder here isn't on...
It's not ready for it.
The power stroke. Yeah, if it's not ready for the spark, it could be in the middle of compressing. It could be in the middle of pulling air in. You don't know when this cylinder's happening. So when it hits to this cylinder, it may not do anything. But then on the next one, it's going to get worse, and it may do it on this one. So, but what happens is you end up putting 40 degrees of timing in one cylinder every time. And it's not supposed to be in that cylinder. All the other cylinders don't have it, but that one does. And then when you end up with rotor phasing, I'm telling you, that is the only way I've ever seen to knock holes in parts in 60 foot. It's really hard. If it seems, if it's running okay and it spools and goes on the brake and everything, it's extremely hard with a turbo car, even on 40% nitro. It's extremely hard to knock a hole in a valve or a piston or something in 60 foot, because we're talking 1 second. My theory is always, if I gave you a bucket of methanol and a bucket of nitro and a torch and all the tools in this shop, you could set everything up the way you wanted it, and within 1 second, you're going to have to melt aluminum, basically blowtorch a hole in an intake valve. You couldn't even take a blowtorch and put a hole in an intake valve or exhaust valve in 1 second, either one. Not in 1 second. But rotor phasing can do it, because rotor phasing is advancing that cylinder 20, 30 degrees every hit, and it just multiplies. Bang, 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 till it knocks a hole in it. It gets it cherry red, and then next time, punches a hole right through it.
When yours was 2 or 4 that did it?
Number 2, cylinder number 2.
So it came after which one? What's your firing
In
order?
the firing order.
Yours is the second one.
So it's going to come after 4. 2 is the last one in the firing order.
If yours was off a little bit, that would be the one that would be getting the most off because it gets off from every single one.
If it's stacking up tolerances the whole way, yes. I don't know if that's what it was doing. I don't know if that's true or if that's possible, but I do know that rotor phasing will not always hurt all cylinders. It only hurts the cylinder in the firing order that when it jumps to that one, it's really early and it has enough compression in it to hurt something. So, you know, you won't always hurt all the cylinders. You won't always hurt, you know, it usually picks on one really fast. I think we had multiple problems because of this one little stupid problem. We're talking 30 thousandths can tear up $30,000 worth of stuff. So after Billy came, we knocked hole in the valve and stuff. As we fixed it, we went to America's List and we tested down there. Well, while we were testing down there, number 2 cylinder was off the charts hot. As in the first 400-foot lick, it was fast. It softened the electrode on the spark plug on number 2. All the other cylinders, cold, fat, just like I like, you know, just normal. Cold, fat, rich and retarded, just like I like it. Number 2 was, I mean, just like on the verge of melting the plug. And you can usually tell if you check the gap on a plug. So if you set the gap at 15 after a run, if you check it and any of them closed up, you got problems. Number 2 was closing up every time. So it's basically that electrode on the spark plug. It hangs out like this and it sparks like this. You know, the coil sparks it like from here to here. It jumps that gap. Well, when it gets really hot, before it just melts the spark plug strap back, it starts to get hot and then wilt. You know, like the compression in the cylinder is pushing the spark plug electrode down, so, or the ground strap down. So I added a whole bunch of fuel to number 2, took some timing out of number 2, thinking that would help. I think that made it worse. And then after the first pass down there, it spun the tire a little at the hit. So we went out to make another test pass, and I took, you know, 3, 4, 5 degrees more out of the launch retard. So instead of pulling out 10 or 12 degrees, I was pulling out 15 or whatever. Well, that made the car go down. But if you look in the videos that we posted on YouTube from testing, it had a little bit of flicker out of the exhaust after I let off the brake. So as it was leaving the starting line, it flickered a little out of the exhaust. I think, personally, that was the added timing that I was taking out to get it to go down the road was making the rotor phasing worse. So the second test pass down there, we didn't even go as far into the run. The first test pass, we went 4 seconds and something or whatever. The second test pass, I only went 3.7 seconds into the run, and the ground strap was melted. I could not figure, I was just like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But what I had done was I started thinking that may have been the issue, so I started putting more timing in the motor, and I started taking out boost instead of timing to try and help if it does have a rotor phasing or some weird misfire issue because of timing, that would be it. We come home from there, and I started to, you know, really think about this, and then once your motor went to the machine shop and we decided we wanted to go racing, we were going to take my car, I started thinking about, man, I really need to fix this cylinder issue. This number 2 is pissed off for some reason. I think that was it the whole time. So I haven't had engine trouble in years. Obviously, I knew for having engine trouble all of a sudden. It's probably my fault. I just didn't know why. So now we fixed it.
It's not even really your fault. It's just worn out, you know.
Well, it's still my fault for not seeing it, not finding it earlier, not fixing it, not keeping my stuff maintained, you know. And all the coil unplug guys are going to say, yeah, coil unplug, it wouldn't have done that. And you're right.
But it probably would have burned up 5 coils by now.
But if I had coil unplug, I wouldn't have to keep 1 spare coil in the trailer. I'd have to keep 10. And every time anything goes wrong with the car, I'd be blaming I wonder if it's coil pack bad. Let's go ahead and replace all the coil packs and see if that fixes it. I just don't have any trouble with my stuff. You know, this is the first time I've had trouble, and it's a clearance issue from being wore out from years of abuse. And I fixed it.
So we got to talk about that because we failed on the talking part while we tested the other day.
Yeah, well, it didn't help any that our phones kept shutting off. We didn't have service. We didn't have hardly any service down there at all. And the track was like abnormally weird. Like they had generator issues, they had light issues, they had computer issues. So every time we got geared up to go make a test hit,
There's lots of oil downs.
There was lots of oil downs. Everything shut down, you know, and they're doing some upgrades to stuff down there. We got a new owner at our local track, which is usually scary. When you get a new owner at the local track, that's usually scary. And, you know, I was a little worried about it, but went down there and saw Larry, and he kind of let us know it's a good thing. We met the guy, the new owner at Thunder Valley. We met him. He seems like a super cool dude. He's super interested in what's going on. He's excited. He's a local racer, and he's got awesome ideas on things to do at this track, you know, and he's talking about doing some really cool stuff. While we were there, we were dealing with all that, and then we had our own, you know, we were a bit rusty. It's been a little bit, so.
And we're not really used to filming ourselves. It's weird.
Yeah, and so being at a normal Friday night test and tune, you know, I just couldn't be a jerk and say, give us some time, guys, we got to finish this video, and I couldn't ignore them while we were filming. So every time we'd start recording or whatever, people would come over, and I would want to say hi and acknowledge the people that were checking out the car, and, you know, stuff like that. So it was, we're learning. We're still trying to learn the filming ourselves. We're used to other people filming us. It's tough to say, sorry, man, I got to finish this video, because he paid to get in the gate just like I did, you know, and it's
and
just
they all watch these videos.
Yeah, and then as we're talking to him, it
was so weird.
That's the weird. Yeah, that's weird. I haven't been to a regular Friday night test and tune with my car in years.
A long time.
Yeah, years. It's wild, man. Like, there's so many people that were coming over to talk to us, and they all watch our YouTube. Like,
and they know, like, the jokes.
Yeah, and that's what they wanted to talk about, and that was cool. That was really cool, you know, because usually they walk up and they, you know, talk about stuff from the show and the big moments of the show, you know, and I understand that completely, but it was just a surprise that people wanted to talk about the cam. They were talking about the cam sync, and I was like, they're like, did you get your cam sync fixed? And also, it was really cool that it's been a while since I've been to Friday night test and tune with my car, and it's weird. The one that I went to, it seems like everybody that I used to race with around here, it was there. You know, we met a lot of people that have raced around here for a long time, and it was pretty cool to do that. So Cracker Tom was down there, and there was a bunch of, you know, just cool guys I haven't seen in a long time that we built a lot of memories with back in the day. So it was pretty neat. It really was. And I'm excited. It makes me even more excited about the stuff we're doing and about going to this next race, you know, with all these wild, crazy top end, no preppers, you know, or whatever. So it's going to be pretty neat. But we did make a pass.
We did.
We didn't get to make, you know, our plan was, because we didn't want to tear anything up this close to the race, so our plan was to go 60 foot, shut it off, pull the plugs. And then we were going to go, you know, 180 or 100 foot, shut it off, pull it back to the golf cart, pull the plugs. And then we were going to go 330, and if all was good, we might go another 330. And then if all was good, we're going to the stripe if we can. That's the way you do it. You know, that's the best way to do it. That's the right way to do it. That way, you know, you're not going to hurt this thing unless you're not going to go to the stripe unless you got it fixed. You're not going to hurt it for no reason. That's what test and tune is for. We didn't get the battery for the golf cart. Didn't show up in time, so we didn't get to take the golf cart.
Don't blame it on the golf cart.
I'm not blaming.
It was you.
I'm blaming it on the golf cart.
It was you. You even, before you go up, you like to tell everybody, even though we all already know, that I'm just going to go 60 foot. And in my head, I was like, he's going to go 330 at least.
Well, I did.
For
I
sure.
went 60 foot.
And 330.
And then I went a little further. And I went 330, yeah. And then I went
Basically
400
600.
foot. And then I think I was out of the gas by 500 or 510. I put a super safe tune-up in it that was from when we went to Chicago on the street. So it had a street tune-up in it. You know, it was kind of my go-to street tune-up thing that I like to try, you know, like to do every time we're going to a street race or a legit no prep type track. And so we put that tune-up in there. It usually goes high 30s at, you know, 165, 166. And it's about 28, 29 pounds of boost. It's really light tune-up. You know, 15 degrees of timing pulled out of it. It's just nice, easy, early shifts, uneventful, beautiful. But recently, in the last year or so, that tune-up has been running 50s. And I didn't understand why, you know. And it's 156 mile an hour. And I was like, why is this thing down, you know? So the first lick, I took it to 400, 500 foot and dumped it with the chutes out. And it went 444 at 165, you know.
Coasting.
And then I was on the brakes, and it still went 770 or 780 in a quarter mile. That's it came up 780 or 770 on a quarter mile. I was like, 780, what the heck? So Jackie tried for a long time to go sevens, and
I've never done it. So.
The fastest she's been is what, 80, right? 804, 802, 806, something like that.
806.
Yeah, 806. So
at 166
with a flat front tire.
Yeah.
So it was so then after that though, I had to drive it back because, you know, that's what we do. We drive our car back. We didn't have a golf cart. We haven't had a golf cart in a long time, so we're just driving it back. So I was driving it back, but man, the Friday night crowd is different than what I'm used to when I'm testing.
When it was so late that everyone was leaving.
And so you had everybody trying to leave, and then you also had everybody trying to get their last pass in. It was the first pass for me, but last pass for them. Everybody thought I only made one pass, but if you look at the incrementals, I mean, I made all 5 shakedowns, and you know,
You're just
it was
efficient.
Quick, yeah, super efficient. Didn't hardly use any fuel. But then on the drive back, oh man, it was rough. I had to wait in line forever. And then I got everybody's going 2 mile an hour, you know, and there's a guy pulling his 11-second truck in front of me, and he's doing slow, and it was nerve-wracking because I haven't done that in a while. But here I am sitting in a line of 11, 12-second cars, and
blended in, huh?
I'm in a low 6, high 5-second quarter mile car, and I'm just sitting there idling, you know, and I'm just like, I'm freaking out, but I don't want to show it because everybody there will say, it's not a street car. You can't even drive it back. It's not a street car. I was getting a little nervous, but I kept telling myself, chill out. It's a street car. You can drive this. You drive this through Mustang. You drive this, you know, you've driven this down Las Vegas Boulevard, right through the middle of Las Vegas on the strip in traffic. Chill out.
Changing lanes with no mirrors.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool.
It was cool.
No burnt plugs.
Yeah, the plugs look just like they're supposed to, you know. The car ran what it's supposed to. If I'd have went to the stripe. The bump was a little violent, so.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it was violent is because if you guys saw, did they see the video where I bumped it, where I spooled it out here in the gravel or no?
It's in this video.
Oh, okay. Well, if you saw that video, you'll see in the gravel when I bumped it, the tires moved in the bump, but they moved on the gravel, so I didn't feel the violence of the bump because it spun. And so when I got to the track and I hit it, I was like, oh, good. So I went in a little deep. That killed my 60 foot, killed my ET a little bit, but. So I think that same run, if I went in shallow like I normally do and ran it to the stripe, it'd be, you know, 434, 435, which is kind of like, that's the tune-up I'm probably going to run off the trailer in War of the Woods. I say that, but I'm going to try and go 20s probably if it'll do it off the trailer, but I don't know if it will. So we'll see. But then after that, man, we were good. We got all our shake-up runs in. We were done. So it's time to bring it back to the shop, inspect it, nut and bolt the whole thing, make sure it's 100% right. Everything really is fixed, not just I thought it was fixed. And then now we're going back. I'm gonna finish running through the inspection of the stuff, and then thinking about trying a different stator. Maybe, I don't know. We might go to the track tomorrow with the same stator, and then we'll try a different stator on Friday. Maybe we're gonna test the hell out of this thing.
Yeah.
We are not going to this race Sorry, I know this is probably loud as hell.
Yeah, maybe just a
My
little.
OCD is killing me with this box just being unorganized as hell. Anyway, so. Oh, dang it.
Womp womp. Anyway.
We're going to go to the track, try and get some runs in. And, yeah, we don't want to go to War in the Woods. War in the Woods. We don't want to go to
Water?
Water Woods. War in the Water Woods. We don't want to go. God. She laughs like a dude sometimes. We don't want to go to War in the Woods and not be ready and step on our dick and look like shit. So we want to at least give it, you know, the good old college try. I'd like to be completely done testing and not even need Monday. But so I'd like to test tomorrow, Friday, Saturday if need be, and then hang out with the boys Sunday, chill at the house, and then load up everything. So
We promise you'll be better about our filming at these tests that are remaining.
yes.
Yes.
Especially, you know, tomorrow's going to be a lot easier because it's going to be where everybody's going to be chilled out now that we know that the motor's not going to shit something out of it the first lick. So tomorrow's going to be a little bit nicer. We can have some fun. We can, you know, be us. Anything else?
Anything else?
Anything else?
Anything else?
Anything else? Anything else? Well, bye.